Tonight, as an impeachment inquiry and multiple subpoenas loom over the White House, President Trump is on the attack, tweeting in part, and I'm quoting now, "The whistleblower's complaint is completely different and at odds from my actual conversation with the new president of Ukraine." And a shakeup in the wake of that bombshell whistleblower report. Sources confirming to CNN the special envoy for Ukraine, Kurt Volker, resigned last night. He'll be appearing before 3 congressional committees within days. Joining us now, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Carl Bernstein, CNN political analyst Sarah Isker, former federal prosecutor Shan Wu, and CNN contributor, former Nixon White House counsel John Dean. Carl, what do you make, first of all, of the president's newest attack on the report? Is there a strategy at play here?
I think they're looking for a strategy, but so far the facts are lining up against them, and they're trying to find a way not to have to make further disclosures of the president's conversations or memoranda of summaries of his conversations with foreign leaders. But they're up against something very different here. One, Nancy Pelosi, more than the candidates running for president of the United States in the Democratic Party right now, is the face of the Democratic Party. And what she has accomplished in the last week, she said to someone in a New York Times interview that she told Trump that he's in her wheelhouse now, which is intelligence matters. And clearly she's running some circles around him thus far. And there are people that I've talked to who say that the White House, understandably, is really worried about this. They're worried about Republicans for the first time perhaps defecting. We have the chairman of the Trump campaign in Nevada, who was a congressman, a Republican congressman, saying, yes, there should be an impeachment inquiry, not saying he's for impeachment. This is now a totally different threat to the president and his presidency, and the people around him know it, and there's going to be a kind of bunker mentality here I think we're already seeing.
You know, John, Dean, the U.S. Special Envoy to Ukraine, Kurt Volker, he resigned last night. We're now learning he will testify up on Capitol Hill this coming Thursday. How significant could this testimony be in this impeachment inquiry?
I think it could be very important for a number of reasons. First of all, Giuliani, who has been interacting with the Ukrainians, really said that he gets his authority from Volk, that is the person with whom he talked and was getting guidance. I don't think it is that way, and it certainly is not that way if you read what was said in the whistleblower report. He said they had to rein Giuliani in. I think also that it was Volk who went to the new president, Kalinske, and was the one who tried to tell him how to deal with Giuliani's pressure. So it's going to be, he's got a lot of inside knowledge, and he can frame this thing for what it really is, which is an abuse of presidential power.
You know, it's interesting, Shan, because multiple sources tell CNN the president is supposedly in denial right now about the gravity, the seriousness of his predicament. How do you see it?
I think he may be in denial, and the reason for that is Trump is ahistorical. Unlike the president that John worked for and that Carl reported on, Trump has no sense of history. He does not really understand what this predicament is. To him, it's just another part of the news cycle for him.
You know, Mitch McConnell supposedly was recommending to the White House, Sarah, that they go ahead and release these documents. The White House did release the documents. To their credit, they released the rough transcript, the whistleblower complaint. But apparently they weren't very happy that the president's not very happy that there was a good strategy to deal with the fallout.
Well, and this goes back to how much turnover there's been in the White House, especially among senior staff. They don't have a set communications team the way that, for instance, the Nixon White House did by this point, the Clinton White House did. And so to be thrown into chaos with a new team is incredibly challenging. At the same time, there can be no question that releasing the transcript was the correct thing to do, because they were going to have to turn over the whistleblower complaint. If you turned over the whistleblower complaint without the transcript, I think they would be in a lot worse shape than they are today. So I actually think the president gets frustrated when things aren't going well without ever considering that this is still the best option that he could be in.
You know, I want to get your reaction to what former Republican Senator Jeff Flake is quoted as saying he thinks at least 35 Republican senators would vote to impeach Trump if the vote were private. What do you think? The vote's not going to be private if it comes to
Right. There's an interesting interview with Mitt Romney this week with The Atlantic in which, I thought he was pretty forthcoming. Whether he represents all senators or not, it's hard to say. But I think over the course of history, to your point, when push really comes to shove, Americans tend to put their country before their own political interests, and I think that if it really came to that, that Jeff Flake would be right, even in public.
Will the White House be able to stonewall, ignore the subpoenas, ignore the demands for witnesses and documents?
I think they will continue to do that. To Sarah's point, this is a White House that has no organization whatsoever. They never have any discipline to stay on the plan. If they stay on their plan, they should stonewall. I think part of the blowback that Mulvaney is getting is he did the smart thing. You got to release something, but Trump's mad about it now. So they will probably return to the stonewalling, and it's going to force Congress to either activate their own sergeant arms or go to court over the contempt.
Shan Wu, thanks very much for joining us. Sarah, thanks to you as well.